Welcome back to our binocular review series, folks, and in this video we're looking at the best binoculars under $1,500. We did a video on the $1,000 price category and the $500 price category, so go check those out. But in this video we're looking at the $1,500 price category and these 5 binoculars here. So we're going to go on the pros and cons of each of these and help you decide which one might be best for you and how they ranked in our huge binocular review. A link to that down in the description. We're going to a lot more detail than we're going to today, and how we did weighted rankings, 2 sessions of about 4 hours each of putting these on a tripod and testing them out in a number of different conditions. So go check that out, link to that down in the description. But let's dive into this review on these $1,500 binoculars right now. All right, let's start off here with the Meopta Meostar B1 Plus from, these are the new ones from Meopta. These are fantastic binoculars. These are a replacement for the B1s. They are relatively new here, and a couple of things I really loved about these eye cups are fantastic. Really comfortable, some of my favorite eye cups, as well as focus mechanism, probably my favorite focus mechanism of the group here. Really silky smooth, just the right amount of resistance. You also have a locking diopter, which you really pretty much I think all of these do in this price category, which you kind of expect once you get up to this price point. The hinge is not too loose here, so it stays put in your harness if you're using it that way. And they're real compact this way. They're heavier and a little more bulky, but they're compact, so if you like that kind of style binocular, you can see how much shorter they are than some of these other ones. They're really nice that way. Optical performance, a low light was pretty good with these, not as good as some of the others. But they're pretty good that way. Center of the image clarity was fantastic with the B1 Plus here. Really where the B1 Plus, the Meostars here struggled was in their edge-to-edge clarity. Definitely not as good as the rest of them in this price category, which was kind of surprising. But it is what it is. As far as our rankings went, these did score at the bottom of the pack as far as edge-to-edge clarity. It was probably made more obvious by how good the center of the image clarity was with the B1s. So you do lose a lot of edge-to-edge clarity, but otherwise you have a really good performing binocular here, and they did well in most other categories. So real solid binoculars there, and they run I think $13.99. Next up here is the Kowa Genesis 44. These are 10.5 by 44, so you have a little bit more in the objective 44 versus the others here are 42s, other than the Sig. And so you have a little bit more light gathering, but they're 10.5 also. So exit pupil size there comes into play there as far as light gathering. The hinge here is nice and stiff there, so it's not going to move on you. As you can tell, they are bigger and bulkier, certainly than the Meostars and the Razors and the SLCs. But they're bigger and heavier, a little bit bulkier, but they're comfortable in hand. They do have a locking diopter, which is real nice that way. And eye cups are real nice and firm, and they're not going to move around on you. They lock into place nicely, real nice that way. One thing that was a common complaint about these Genesis 44s was also the eye cups, and that really they were difficult because they're too thick. The design of them is too thick, so you had to run them all the way in, kind of like the other ones we looked at in the Leupold Santium BX5s, where you have to put those all the way in to really get the full field of view with these binoculars. If you put them all the way out like that, you just simply, it's just too thick, and you can't get them down into your eye socket. So that would be an easy change here. I think that would make these a whole lot better, and I think they would rank better. As with Kowas, you get really good color rendition, and they do a really good job optically that way. You get really bright, vibrant colors. Edge-to-edge clarity was good, certainly better than the Meostars here, but not as good as some of the others in this group, but it was very good that way. And the low light performance was again good, kind of middle of the pack, but not as good as some of the other ones. Overall, real nice binoculars that way. If you're looking for lightweight, probably not the best option for you, but it's a good option overall. Next up, we've got the Sig Zulu9s. As you can tell, these are much larger. These are 11 by 45, so they're even larger objective than the Kowa, and they're larger overall. They're the biggest pair by a long ways and the heaviest, I think 36 ounces for these guys. So they're not really your lightweight compact, but they're very comfortable in your hand. Loved the eye cups here. They do a really good job that way. They could be a little bit tighter as far as not allowing any movement there, but lots of eye relief. And unfortunately, they don't have a locking diopter, which is really a bummer. It's stiff enough to where it's not going to really move on you, but I do wish I had a locking diopter there. The focus mechanism is unique on this. It's kind of like the Zulu 7s. They're kind of more tactile looking and feeling, and I wish that the focus mechanism here wasn't quite so responsive, if you will, in the sense of you make one really small movement here, and the amount of change that you get in the image is really significant. So your change has to be really, really minute when you're making your focusing movements on these. Otherwise, they do a really good job. These were one of the performers in this group that was really, really surprising. I think they run about $12.99, either that or $11.99. I can't remember for sure. Again, I'll put links to all these down in the description for you. But they way outperformed their price point. They were right there tied with the #1 spot, the Razor UHDs, in low light performance. They even beat out the Swarovski SLCs in low light performance, which was really shocking. They did an amazing job that way. Overall image clarity, really, really good with these. I was really, really impressed with these Sig Zulu9 binoculars across the board. Really a nice binocular. Again, not lightweight or compact if that's what you're looking for, but they really do a good job. And the binocular, the stud here is right there on where in that most stable spot right there. One thing I forgot to mention on the Kowas here is they don't have a tripod adapter threading, so you got to get one of those really right stuff cinches or something like that to hold the binocular, or a strap of some kind. Whereas the Meostars do as well. They do have a threading there on the end, and these are so compact that it kind of is same as those dual hinge design. It's not quite as stable, but it works fine with that. So anyways, the Sig Zulu9s, really, really nice binoculars, really impressive, and they were one of the biggest surprises in this review as far as how well they did, particularly given their price point versus others in this price bracket. Swarovski SLCs, they don't make these anymore, unfortunately. They're still amazing binoculars. As you know, edge clarity is good, but not perfect on these. They do a really good job as far as low light performance. They're phenomenal that way. We ranked them, but not really ranked them in this review because they are no longer available. I just had a pair of these and have been using these for a number of years. So went ahead and threw them in the review. Really amazing binoculars, and where we rank them here is right in the #2 spot, kind of tied with the Sig here as far as overall performance. As you know, color contrast really, really good with these. The low light performance is phenomenal with the SLCs as well. So leads me to the top, or the winner in this price category, was the Razor UHDs, and this was a little bit of a surprise to me. I wasn't sure what to expect with the UHDs. I'd heard they were really good, but wanted to, of course, see for ourselves, so we put them up next to these others in our 10 volunteers over about 8 hours of testing, a number of different lighting conditions, looking at animals. Had some elk and deer show up, which was real nice, so that worked out real nice. So these just flat out performed. I was really, really surprised. Really good edge-to-edge clarity, really good clarity overall. They were just a phenomenal pair of binoculars. A focus mechanism nice and smooth, and it could be a little stiffer on the hinge here. They might move on you a little bit. They are a little bigger, as you can see, certainly bigger than something like the SLCs, more along the lines of the Sig. They're a little bit on the heavier side as well, not as heavy as the Sig, but a little heavy. Not too bad though. You do have that binocular threading right there, the stud threading right there in a good spot. A couple things I didn't like about these, of course, the eye cups, as I mentioned in some of the other videos, they're just a little bit loose, and they move up and down too easily. They're likely going to move on you, which is a bummer. Don't really care for the rubber covering over the focus mechanism, like I mentioned in the other video. Had that come off on me on the Razor HDs, but using them out in the field. That's kind of a bummer. Had to glue them back on. You could pull that. You could just pull it off if you wanted, because it's just glued on there. So that's kind of a bummer. I wish they had updated that on the UHD model, but it's not the end of the world that way. You have a locking diopter, which is nice as well with the UHD, and overall just a really impressive binocular. I wasn't expecting these to take the top spot in this category, but they did. Low light performance was excellent as well. Like I mentioned, edge clarity was excellent in these as well. Just a really good pair of binoculars across the board in the Razor UHD. So good job with updating the optics and making that UHD glass just phenomenal. So that is the $1,500 price category. Again, links to all these down in the description for you, so you can check them out for yourself if you saw something that you liked, and a link to the full review on these down in the description. Also, go check that out. Make sure you stick around for our next video, which is the Alpha Glass, the 3 top binoculars in the world. We're going to go through those, so go check that out for sure. I'll put a link to that down in the description for you as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining us here today. We'll see you next time.